Now, talking, sharing your worries and making time for yourself is so important, especially during these strange times and as we head into level 5 restrictions. As part of our Time to Talk campaign, I recently spoke to singer Mary Byrne about her anxiety battles with depression and how she overcame one of the darkest times in her life. As part of Ireland AM's Time to Talk mental health series, I've come back to Ballyfermot, where I was born and bred, to talk to an old friend about her struggles with mental health. Yes, it can only be the one and only Mary Byrne. Mary, it's great to see you, looking so well, and I love that I'm here in Ballyfermot with you because I'm a Ballierhead, you're a Ballierhead, and here we are. And tell me about Mary Byrne growing up in Ballyfermot and what she was like.
Oh God, well I have to say I was never home. I was always out down the California hills or up in the old graveyard at the lawns, and I would say I was a shy kid, but I was an outgoing kid as well.
Yeah.
I had a mixture of two people in me, like I always had. But yeah, I had a great childhood in Ballyfermot. I did. I had a great family, and I just loved the area itself. I mean, you know.
Growing up then here in Ballyfermot, and when did, not depression, but when did sort of a darkness, as you call it, start for you?
I think it started when I was quite young. I mean, as I was going into me, I suppose my 20s, when I was not knowing where I was in life and not knowing what was going to happen.
And of course, back then, mental health wasn't spoken the way it is now. So were you trying to hide that? Were you able to talk to anybody about it?
No, I didn't talk to anybody about it. I just went on with life and held it in myself. And then there was alcoholism in the family as well. So not that anybody was rolling around the place, but drink was there. It was in the home, you know what I mean? And that in itself inadvertently affected my mental health as well.
Was there any of that time that you tried to get professional help?
Yes, I had a Dr. O'Connell who worked over here at over the bank in Ballyfermot, and he kind of knew that I was suffering with depression, and he didn't want to put me on tablets. He sent me up to Cherry Orchard, to the health area up there, and I was living up in Cherry Orchard at the time, and that's when the depression really hit. My mother had died. My father was knocked down by a stolen car. And within weeks of my father being knocked down, my mother was diagnosed with dementia. So it was a huge wrench for me, and I had a young child, and I was living in an area that I wasn't happy in. I was being brought down to a place where I had considered taking my own life. And that's going way back into the early 20s. And yeah, it was the most horriblest time. And then Mammy passed away. Depression hit me even worse, and I took on alcohol. I took on hash to get me through something that I thought I couldn't get through myself.
Was the alcohol bad?
The alcohol was bad because it was. Didn't drink during the week. It was funny. It was hilarious because the whole week long I could go without a drink.
And then come the weekend.
And come the weekend, it was bottle after bottle after bottle. And Deborah was only young, and nobody knew it was in my home. Nobody knew. And I hit it like there was no tomorrow. Hit it running like there was no tomorrow.
So there's this been underlying unhappiness going through that early part of your life. Then when you come to such a big thing like X Factor, like it was so huge, the whole country fell in love with you. Were you still going through that?
Yeah.
Were you terribly unhappy when you were in London? I know you moved out of the house with the guys, like One Direction, everybody there that year. It was such a huge year. And you just couldn't cope in the house.
Yeah, and Louis, thank God for Louis Walsh at the time, he seen it. I never said it, but he seen it. He knew I was going through, I was missing my daughter, I was missing home. I was on antidepressants at the time because at that time, that's the only reason I went on that X Factor, was because of the antidepressants. They were giving me a little lift, but I was on a very mild dose, so it wasn't making me better, but it was helping me cope. And when I was in the house with the lads, listen, all those kids were fantastic to me, and they all looked after me, but I was getting to a stage where I just didn't want to be there anymore. I wanted to go home. I'd done it. I want to go home. Let me go home. And they didn't want the public to know it. So Louis Walsh kind of just said, right, You're going to stay in my room. When I'm gone home for the whole week, you're going to stay in the hotel and give yourself a break from all of that. And that did help. Leading up to the very end, that kind of helped, because it gave me a kind of a freshness, a renewal of being, you know, away from everybody, and I could think and I could get my head together. And then I'd go back to the X Factor and do the thing and the whole lot.
Because I was over X Factor, I go over every year, and I remember being there that year with you. And you just think everybody wants to get to the next week because that's the big thing. Did you?
The pressure got to me.
Did it?
Yeah, the pressure
got
to me. I just felt I was in an area with, I always said the X Factor was for younger people. And I just wanted someone to say to me, you can sing. And Simon had said that.
Yeah.
So for me, that was it. I can sing. I can go out now.
Simon Cowell has said, I can sing, I'm happy to go home now. Thanks very much.
And I can go out and I can, you know, do a bit of singing in the pub, and I can say, well, Simon Cowell said I can sing, so you can.
I've done Ballyfermot proud.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. But as the weeks went on then, and I started hearing stories from Ballyfermot and from the people that were so proud of me, and then the whole country. And then the posters were being sent to me on photographs, and I was going, what the hell is happening? That put more pressure on me.
And then moving on then, Mary, obviously then you came back, huge success, and you were gigging and everything else, and everything's going so well. And then, like so many people this year, COVID happened, and your gigging, your lifeline, just stopped.
Do you know what? In January, we were still doing the play, Dirty Dustin, and everything was flying. And we had February to come along then to do to finish off our play, and March was just to finish it off. And the next thing, COVID hit, and I went down a very dark lane. I just wanted. Well, I'm here because I had help, because I got help. I don't know how I got help, but I just wanted to die.
And how dark you had said to me that there was one day you were walking and you literally just sort of said, I don't want to even go home, I just want to end it now.
Yeah, and that was walking down Lafania Road that I live on. I was walking down towards Chapel Lizard, where the river is, and that was my plan. That was my plan. I was going down there on my mother and father who are in heaven, and I was going to just jump in. It felt comforting. That fact that everything would end. And all this pain and these demons would be gone. I wasn't thinking about poor Deborah. I wasn't thinking about my family. I was thinking about the pain that was in here and in here. It was like an emptiness. It was like a hole inside me that nothing could fill. And tears constantly.
And that day you passed the chemist here in Ballyfermot and you just went in.
Yeah.
And the lady in there, and it was only because of her you were saying that.
Yeah, it was the weirdest feeling ever, because I came to the corner of Lafania and looked over at my local chemist. And I don't know to this day what made me change my mind and go straight. I went across the road and Ramona, which is the lady that was standing behind the chemist, she looked at me and the tears were streaming, and she just ran out, dragged me into the back, set me down. I was talking a load of gabbly goop. I didn't know what I was saying to her because she couldn't hear me. I was spitting everywhere. I was roaring and crying. She took me by the hand and brought me into my doctor. And if that woman hadn't have been there, and if I hadn't have got that thought, whatever it was, I swear this, and I've said it before, don't think I'd be here today.
We're sitting here in Ballyfermot in one of your favourite little spots having a cup of tea. How is Mary Byrne today?
Mary Byrne is grand today, except that we have now a second wave of this COVID, and Mary's feeling a little bit anxious. But Mary also knows that, I also know now that I'm on medication. I have all of the people there around me who I can turn to, and I won't let it get to where it got. I am frightened. Yes, I am frightened of COVID-19. I'm not sitting here saying, oh, don't look at me, give me COVID. I'm frightened of the fact that someone belongs to me could get it, or I could get it. And that's affecting, that's niggling at my mental health. But I talk to my doctor about it. I ring my friend Tricia, and we talk about it because she's feeling the same. And we laugh then, and then we slag each other. And then the doctor tells me, listen, do what you have to do. Don't think about it all the time, because if you do, I try not to listen to the news a lot. I try not to, look at papers. I try to go walking every day and try and just forget about it. Try to get a bit of normality into my head. Mary Byrne is doing well today, doing a lot better than what she was doing in March.
Well, listen, it's great to see you, and thank you so much. And I know you're going to have helped so many people watching in this morning. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Oh, she's brilliant, Ellen, isn't she?
That's tough to watch, you know, because we're going into that lockdown again. You know, and so many people will have found it so hard back in March and April, and to be going back into that again.
And it's all so new, as you say.
Yeah.
Like this is weeks ago, months, only weeks ago that this all happened. And so it's like, it's very raw for her. And I think she's very brave to sort of tell everybody about that and just go back and sort of say, look at, I want, and it was the way she said it, I just want this pain. Like, Deborah is our world. And to sort of not even be thinking about that, just for this pain to end.
To be with her mummy and daddy in heaven.
In heaven, you know, it's just... So the helplines have been on the screen if you do need any help. And as Mary said, look, that woman in that chemist that day in Ballyfermot, if she hadn't have gone in, we could be here talking about how wonderful Mary Byrne was.
Oh, don't even.
We talked about, you said about the butcher, that if somebody just went into butcher and bought one thing that they buy in the supermarket, it would keep them alive, it would keep them going. You know, make one phone call today.
Make one phone call
one
today.
text message today to somebody. They don't have to be struggling, just
You're right, just check in.
Yeah, check in with them. And you know what I always think as well? If you think that somebody is struggling, don't wait for them to call you.
Exactly.
You call them, or just sort of say, are you okay?
Be the ear.
And Mary was saying to me, it's a lovely thing that Ballyfermot has such a strong community sense there that she goes for her walk every day. And some days she'll just sit and she'll be listening to a podcast or something, and she might sit on a bench and she'll be sitting there and she might be miles away, people coming over, are you all right? Are you okay? You know, like they're looking out for her, which I thought was so wonderful. That she'd be going, yeah, no, I'm glad, because they sort of know Mary so well there, and it was lovely up there in Ballyfermot when we met. Like, obviously I was born and bred there, my family house is still there. And it was just lovely to see her looking so well and keeping well. And as she sort of said, but she has to check in. She has to keep on it, because it is something that so many people are going through at the moment. And now going into this 6 weeks, we just want to keep that. But if there's somebody that you know, that you think might be suffering, reach out to them today.
big time. Absolutely.
Time for a quick break. We'll see you after this.